people ask me, where does the sediment come that enters this river, and that's it's kind of a loaded question. It depends on the climate for the year and the timing of the events. If we start in the spring and we have a year with a lot of snow, we get a lot of snow melt runoff. We can have, if it's a fast melt, that water will melt, it'll flow across frozen soils, and it will pick up very little sediment. So we see relatively low concentrations in the river compared to a high-intensity rain event, for example. But because the flow volume, a pollutant load is a product of concentration and flow, but because of the big flow volumes, we'll see large pollutant loads or sediment loads delivered during that time period. Barring a lot of snow, if we get low-intensity rain events after snow melts and after the frost is out of the ground, those events, the rate of rainfall is often less than the rate of infiltration. So a lot of that water will seep into the soil profile, and so that water will either come out as groundwater, or it'll be carried through tile lines, subsurface tile lines, and carrying much less sediment. So in those storms, primarily stream bank erosion. It's when we get to the period of when we start getting into the severe, weather season. That's when we can see the overland sediment component really increase. If we get a high-intensity rain event, typically these start happening about the middle of May and run through the end of June. Not the events, but just the critical time period when the erosion occurs. The crop canopy is not developed. The rain comes down at a very high intensity, dislodges soil particles, carries that soil to the river with surface runoff, and we can see very high sediment loads come through with one or two major storms during that time period. Once that crop canopy is closed, the soils are again protected, and the high intensity rains that we do get during that time period are intercepted by the crop canopy. The size of the raindrops is reduced because the rain will come down, it will hit the leaves of the crop, break into smaller drops, the velocity is slowed down. When that water finally hits the soils, it's much more prone to infiltrate and again get carried through the soil profile or subsurface tile. And so during those storms, again, we're kind of back to stream bank erosion being the primary source of sediment, or there's a combination of overland runoff and stream bank erosion. So it's, the sources and the load kind of depends on when the events happen.